Welcome to Uptober. BTC just printed a new all-time high, and ETH broke above the 3.5k resistance zone. But the big question is, how far can we still go, and which altcoins will pump the most? Hello everyone, Richard here, and welcome to a new weekly overview here on AltCryptoTalk. Today, I'll be going over top 10 altcoins to buy in October, part 2. So let's get started, and of course, don't forget to smash that like button if you like such content. Starting with Aave, we have been trading within a big range on weekly time frame between 250 and 400, and since we are currently rejecting the lower bound of the range, we'll be looking of course for longs, targeting the upper bound of the range. If you zoom into daily time frame, we have been overall bearish as a big correction phase. For the bulls to take over and start this next big leg, as mentioned previously on daily time frame, we need to see a break above the 300. It's a round number, a supply zone, and the upper bound of this falling wedge. By breaking above it, price will invalidate any bearish scenario. That's why we'll be shifting the momentum from bearish to bullish again, which makes it the ultimate area to be looking for trend following longs, targeting the upper bound of the range. Next, we've got AERO. Weekly time frame, we have been trading within this big range between 5 and 9 round numbers. Zooming into daily time frame, we are currently rejecting a very strong structure, previously acting as a demand zone, then as a support, multiple rejections from this area. After breaking below it, it's now acting as a resistance, thus for the bulls to take over and shift the momentum again from bearish to bullish, a break above this structure, which would be around 6.3, will be needed. Once we break above it, we'll be expecting a shift in momentum, and then we'll be looking for longs, targeting the upper bound of the range around the 9 round number. In parallel, of course, we'll remain overall bearish as long as we hold below the 6.5. In this case, we can expect one more bearish leg towards the 5 round number. In such a scenario, we'll be looking for longs around this area. So, long story short, we are bearish. If you push lower, look for longs around the 5 round number, or if you break above the 6.3, we'll be looking for longs targeting the 9. Next, AERO. On daily time frame, we have been overall bullish. We can see it even better on weekly time frame. Currently rejecting a very strong round number around the 1.1. Bullish, as you clearly notice, making higher lows and higher highs, and currently in a correction phase retesting the 1.1. That's why we'll be looking for trend following longs on lower time frames, such as the daily time frame. After being bearish for a long period of time, AERO finally broke above the 0.5 round number that's previously formed this accumulation markup phase, and we are currently within this big bullish trend. For the bulls to take over again and start the next impulse phase, targeting the 2.2 or even 2.4 round numbers as a big resistance zone, we need to see a break above this falling channel as a big correction phase. Once we break above it, we'll be expect this movement. That's why we'll be looking for trend following longs around this area, as mentioned previously, after a break and a retest. Next, we've got Linea. On H4 time frame, it has been trading within a big range between 0.024 and 0.036. Within this big range, we've got a smaller range between 0.024, which is the lower bound of both ranges, and the 0.0295. Once we break above the 0.0295, we'll be expecting this movement towards the 0.036, and once finally we break above this upper bound of the big range, we'll be looking for trend following longs targeting the 0.05 or even 0.1 round numbers. In parallel, of course, as we retest the lower band of the range, we'll be looking for longs targeting the mid-range around 0.0295. Next, we've got Near. Weekly time frame, a very nice looking chart. Very big support, clean and clear. 2 round number. That's why we'll be looking for these longs. But as you clearly notice, we are currently in this big range as a big accumulation phase. We can see it even better on daily time frame between the 2 round number and the upper bound of the range at 3.65. For the bulls to take over long term and push this crazy pump movement towards the 8 round number, a break above the upper bound of the range at 3.65 will be needed. Once we break above it, look for long-term longs on Near. Meanwhile, since we are trading within this rising channel, as we retest the lower bound of it, which would be around 2.5, the upper bound of this big range, big support, we'll be looking for trend following longs targeting the upper bound of this big range around 3.6. Next, render. Weekly time frame, a big range between 2 and 8 round numbers. Currently around the lower bound of this small range within this bigger range, right? If you zoom into daily time frame, you can see it in a very clean manner. We have been bearish, trading within this falling wedge pattern. If you break above this last high at 4.1, we'll be expecting a shift in momentum from bearish to bullish towards the upper bound of this big range at 7-8 resistance zone. But for now, let's take it step by step. If you zoom a little bit in, we can see that we are currently testing the lower bound of this falling wedge, which intersects perfectly with a 3 round number. So if we retest it, we'll be looking for short-term longs targeting the upper bound, and then, as mentioned previously, once we break above this wedge pattern, expect a bigger leg towards the upper bound around 7 round number. Next, we've got STX, an interesting chart. I've mentioned this one previously on monthly time frame. We have been trading within a big giant range, if you want to call it, between the 0.5 or even 0.1 and the 4 round number. That's a big range indeed, but price seems to be retesting both sides, up and down, and now we are currently in this big sharp correction movement and retesting the lower bound of the range, which would also intersect perfectly with the 0.5 round number. If you zoom a little bit in, you can see that it's also the lower bound of this small range between 0.5 and 1. On the daily time frame, you can see it in a detailed manner. Just like previously, we had this falling channel, break above it, push toward the upper bound of the range at 1 round number. I'm expecting almost a similar scenario. Once we break above the upper bound here, I'll be expecting a movement towards the 1 round number. That's a 40% movement upward. And of course, in parallel, since we are overall bearish, once we retest the lower bound of this falling wedge and the 0.5 round number, we'll be looking for short-term longs targeting the upper bound of this falling wedge around the 0.6. TAI. Daily time frame, big range between this demand zone and this resistance zone. We are talking about the 0.02 and the 0.15. That's a big range indeed. Once price retests the lower bound of it around the demand zone and the lower trend line in red, we'll be looking for longs targeting the upper bound, and vice versa. If you break above this previous major high at 0.083 marked in red, we'll be expecting this movement towards the upper bound at 0.14. And from a macro perspective, from a long-term perspective, once we break above the upper bound here at 0.165, we'll be expecting this giant movement on TAI towards the 0.36 or even 0.5. Now we've got TIA. Don't get confused between TAI and TIA. Weekly time frame also towards its all-time lows, right? 1.5 round numbers are a very strong area, support, all-time low, and so on, and also round numbers. Anyway, we are currently around the 1.5, which also happens to be the lower bound of this big range between 1.5 and 2.32. We are currently around this area, so we'll be looking for longs targeting the upper bound at 2.32. H4 time frame, if you break above the 1.575, we'll be expecting this crazy bullish movement towards the 2.2. And of course, as mentioned previously, once we break above the 2.3, we'll be expecting a longer term bullish movement towards the upper bound of this big range towards the 4.5. Last but not least, as per our last coin of the week article, WMTX is currently in a markup phase. Previously, markdown, accumulation, we've broken above the accumulation, so the markup phase started here, and we are currently in a bearish correction after this big bullish impulse. So markdown, accumulation, markup, correction, and now we are waiting for the bulls to take over again to start the next big bullish movement, next bullish leg. Zoom a little bit out, you can see that we also have this big resistance zone around 0.3. So after breaking above this falling channel, we'll be expecting a movement towards the 0.3. That would be a 30% movement upward, and then after breaking above the 0.3, we'll be expecting 0.5 or even 1 round number for this cycle. Of course, in parallel, as we go a little bit lower, we've got this intersection here, what I call trio retest. We've got our support, our trend line, and the lower trend line or lower bound of the falling channel acting as an oversold zone. That's why this area is massive to be looking for longs. But the confirmation would be, of course, a break above the upper bound of the channel. That's where we'll be expecting a movement towards the 0.3. That's it for today. 10 top altcoins to buy in October part 2. Let me know in the comments if you are holding any tokens, planning to hold it, or do you have any other tokens that you would like me to cover, and I will be happy to do it next week. See you soon.